I'm like oddly nervous. Like
Why
I know what I'm
nervous?
talking about, but
Yeah, you're gonna be fine. I promise.
Can I make this smaller, or is that not possible? Is this as small as it goes?
That's as small as it goes. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'm just child sized.
In three, two, one, you're live.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the wonderful world of weddings. My name is Daniel Krikorian. We are very happy to have you on this show today. And like we do each and every week, we try to bring on incredible guests that can talk to you about what to look for on your wedding day. We know how crazy your wedding day can be, and booking vendors can be just as crazy. So if we can help out in any way, that's what we're trying to do here. And that's why I brought on Rachel Fratantonio. She is a part of Swept Up Styles, and this is your baby.
yes, it is. It is indeed.
And so tell us a little bit about what encouraged you to get into it. I know you have quite a long history of hairstyle.
That is correct.
Hairstyling. Is it hairstyling? Like, how do you properly say it?
So hairdressing, that term has kind of seemed to have gone by the wayside, and hairstylist seems to be the preferred term now.
I'm trying to be fancy.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it. It's totally fine.
So
It's like every other, department. They're just like, let's try to make it sound better.
yeah.
But you're a hairdresser.
I am a hairdresser and a hairstylist.
Okay.
So I've been doing hairdressing or hairstyling for just about 10 years now. I started off behind the chair. I still work in a salon on a regular basis. About 2 years into my career, I started getting more into weddings. I've always enjoyed doing more of the formal styling, weddings, proms, event styling. It's not everybody's jam to do that. So I was kind of throwing a lot of those people initially at my salon, which I was happy to do.
Yeah.
And then as the years went on, I really liked that sort of niche in the hair industry and started taking more and more classes toward that, making that my main focus.
Yep.
So in 2018, I started Swept Up Styles, where, we do event styling, focusing mainly on brides, proms, any kind of major event that you're going to.
And correct me if I'm wrong here, but it seems like the small disconnect between a hairstylist and a hairdresser is when you get a typical hairdresser, right? When you go in for a typical appointment, you're getting just your usual, right? Is that kind of how it works? I mean, I have no hair. I have no clue what we're talking about. So it seems like the only difference is, when you do a wedding, you're doing these glamorous hairstyles.
Yeah, it's for an event. Not every hairdresser behind the chair is not going to be involved in doing wedding hair and wedding styling. Not everybody likes to do that. You'll find that certain hairdressers or hairstylists prefer to do just cuts and colors, or they prefer to do more of the styling, or maybe they focus just on haircuts or just on styling. Maybe they focus more on men's haircuts. Like everybody has sort of a general focus or liken to a certain area. It's a specialty.
And I have to imagine the more you do it, the faster you get at it. And at weddings, there is an element of speed and efficiency because you have so many people to do.
Definitely.
Right.
Definitely.
So
Oh, yeah.
that's a big part of it. The only thing I know is actually the updo. That was a very popular one.
It is. It's the updo, the upstyle. It's still a term
Right.
that's used for sure.
It is.
But wedding hair has become more than just putting all of your hair up. It's styling it down. The glamour waves are still really big right now. Everybody wants that Hollywood wave. So that's obviously not an up style, but it involves a lot of prep to make the hair stay that way.
Yeah. And we're going to talk a little bit about that too as we go through today. Just trying to help people prepare, because I learned this with makeup, and everyone knows the goofy story that I had to be a makeup assistant one day, which was just ridiculous. I've never had to do hair, and I think I shouldn't be allowed to because I just have no background in it. I mean, my hair, the best thing I use for my head is, a
little buff pad.
Little buff.
Yeah.
Just
shine spray. You're
got
good.
it, right?
Yeah.
I need a mirror.
Great.
But yeah, I think so. The big thing that I get from brides is the common mistakes, because most people on a day-to-day basis are just wearing their hair in normal fashion,
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you find that most brides don't do a lot with their hair prior to their wedding? Like it's more natural?
I think it depends on the person. Some people do a lot with their hair as far as styling day to day. They take the time out of their morning to do their hair and style it. And other people are more like wash and go.
Yeah.
So depending on which one you get in your chair will really determine what you end up doing as far as the style goes.
And is that a lot more preparation than you typically would have as a hairdresser? Like, do you enjoy that piece of it?
I do. I enjoy getting to know the bride that's in my chair or the client that's in my chair and finding the right style that suits not only what works for them, but what they envision it to be.
So you're telling me that the talkative hairdresser, you have to actually talk more than that person?
Yeah.
So that suits you very well.
It does. It does.
So that's too funny. And I think when you first started, when you started getting those brides that came to you and said, hey, were they typical clients as a hairdresser, or how did they find you? I guess that's my biggest question.
Well, a lot of it started through the salon that I work at. It's my aunt's salon. And the salon itself had already built up a great reputation for doing wedding hair.
Oh, okay.
So some of my brides initially came from there. And then as I started to, get a little bit more traction and some renown in a sense, it was referrals. I feel like referrals are always your best advertising.
Absolutely. And do they pick you because of the style, or is it, hey, I know a bunch of these styles and they like your personality and they understand how you work? Like I'm just, again.
I found it both ways. I found it, someone's found a picture that I've liked and been like, oh, I loved that. I really like your style.
Right.
And then I've also gotten, oh, so-and-so referred me to you and she just had wonderful things to say about the whole process.
Sure. And do you find that it is a niche style, or is it just simply you can do it all? And, because this is the big misconception with something like photography, where people say, oh, I need you because of this style. And then, our guys, I think a good photographer knows multiple styles.
Yeah.
Do you have the same argument sometimes?
I would agree. I would agree that a good hairdresser knows how to do multiple things. You will see that some hairdressers will do maybe more braids or focus on a certain kind of boho textured style.
What is boho?
Boho is kind of more like relaxed, wavy.
Okay.
There's a lot more texture in there. I would consider kind of beachy vibe. Boho is I would associate that as in the boho style.
These terms in this industry just crack me up. I just can't even do it. But okay, so you can definitely do multiple styles.
Yes.
And did you have to go, now you said you got an education in this. I know for a fact that you had that certification that comes with hair, which is a big piece of it.
Yes.
Did you go and get an additional education for these styles, or how does that come into play? Or is it just time learning them?
Well, definitely time learning them is huge too. Time practicing. Even now, I'll pull out my mannequin head and do stuff just to learn new things. There's always something new in this industry, which is exciting about it.
Sure.
But you do have to go and you get like your basic education. And then from there, you can take additional classes.
Okay.
I've taken classes with like Hair and Makeup by Steph. She's really big on Instagram.
Jeez. Insta?
On the Insta, yes. But you can take multiple different classes focusing on, whether it's cuts or colors, formal styling, those kinds of things. So,
and are you trying to, how quickly are trends coming in and out of the hair industry? Is it yearly? Is it something that you're constantly learning because of that?
I'd say it's yearly.
Yeah.
Like I said, the glamour waves at the beginning, those were really big. So the classes were focusing more on that because it was such a popular style.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. And I think that's something that I spoke with when Boston Beauty Network was on here. We had a very similar discussion, and they really opened my eyes to how quickly those trends tend to come in and out. And the same thing with florals. Florals played a big piece, and they were coming in and out as well. I think, was it Justin Bieber's sister that had a glamorous wedding? Is this real? Okay. Yeah. I sound like an old man. I'm not that old, but it's just, I remember that being the case where they were saying her name, and I never had heard of this, but she had this glamorous wedding that set a huge tone for the makeup and I believe the hair industry, but I'm not too sure. It was a similar updo type style.
Yeah. I think it's tough. It really depends on the bride. I find depending on what the bride likes can really influence them. I had a bride this past year who, her huge influence for her wedding was based off of a bride who was on a reality show. I think it was
what?
Oh my gosh, I cannot remember the name of the show, but she loved this woman's hair and her whole look, and that was what she showed me for inspiration. You
know what though? All right, so I cringe. At the same time, I sit there and it's just like, you're doing it once. Most people are only getting married once, right? They have no clue where to start. And they probably wear them hair in a natural way, just like for photos. They probably don't take many photos of themselves in a photo shoot. So how are they going to know the difference? And so what they tend to do is they look and they say, oh, that looks good. Let's go for it. Right.
Yes.
And I don't blame them for that. It's just funny when it's just like, yeah, I watched this woman on TV. She has hundreds of millions of dollars and I want to do it for for $5. It's like, that ain't going to happen. So that's the part that kills me. It's like, expectations versus reality can be so different.
Yes. And that's, I think, huge across the whole wedding industry.
Yeah. And when we get back, we're actually going to talk a little bit about how to choose that right style for you and, maybe how to find it without the reality TV show. So we'll be back in just a few seconds. Guys, I want to let you know that this show is sponsored by New England Wedding Expo. Go to newenglandweddingexpo.com today. Sign up for free right now. There's 150 tickets for free, and then they will be on sale. And also vendor booths. We have 2 spots left in section B, and the rest are running out quick. So please go on, book yours today, and we'll see you there. And we'll see you back here in just a few seconds. Thanks, guys. Hey everyone, and welcome to the wonderful world of weddings. We're so happy to have you back here. I have a wonderful guest with me, Rachel Fratantonio, and we're talking about hair, which I know simply nothing about if you're watching this video. So I apologize for the incredible amount of hypocrisy. That being said, I'm going to try to go ahead and give us the best information for your wedding day for all the brides listening out there. If you are tuning in, I want to let you know that we're also sponsored by Be Remembered. Go to BeRememberedWeddings.com for all of your wedding service needs, everything from photo, video, event planning, DJ, makeup, photo booth, coordination. Yeah, I think I got them all. Go to BeRememberedWeddings.com. But let's get right back into it here. So we were having a lovely discussion about how you really excelled in the wedding industry from the start of the hairdressing career and everything that entails and the additional education. But let's dive a little bit more into and really give our brides the ability to understand what they should be looking for on their day. Because I think that, again, the confusion is such a big factor. You're doing it once, you're spending an asinine amount of money on your wedding. And so let's do it right.
You can spend an asinine amount of money on your wedding.
Yes, absolutely. And so I think the first thing is that how do you choose the right style, right? I mean, are there factors? How do we do this?
There are definitely factors that go into it. I think when you have a good hairstylist there to help you, they're going to help you decide what's going to be the best thing for you. So depending on what inspiration pictures you come up with and what your hair type is, if you have longer hair, if it's shorter, if it's finer, if you have really curly, coarse hair, is kind of going to determine what your hair is and isn't capable of doing. I will say there are lots of things that us as hairstylists can use to help make hair look a certain way to an extent. We can use mesh, we can use padding to make it look bigger and fuller. We can add extensions to make the hair longer so we have more to work with.
Sure.
But that all depends on what our starting point is. So I would say if we're going to get into common mistakes, I would say one of the biggest common mistakes is not doing a bridal trial.
Okay.
I think it's a huge deal to get to know the person that's doing your hair and see if you guys hit it off. And then 2, for the hairstylist to see what they're working with and what you're going for. This can be controversial because sometimes people are like, oh, I'm so laid back about my hair. I don't even care. And maybe I will say 8 times out of 10, that person really, truly is very cool about their hair and they would be happy with whatever you did. But I find it so much better for everybody. It makes everything run so much smoother if you do the bridal trial. And that way you get to know the stylist, they get to know your hair, and you guys have a solid plan as to what you're going to do.
And I feel like you can give them options at that point, right? You can see that picture and you can say, hey, look, your hair does not allow for X, but we can do, Y and Z.
Definitely. Okay. So, I'd say one of the more common things that I end up getting is someone who has shorter, finer hair, and they show you this picture of a bun that's this big, beautiful bun, and they're like, oh, I don't know that I have enough hair for this.
Yes.
Sometimes there are different things that we can do to create enough teasing or enough texture in the hair so that it looks fuller. And then other times we do have to put in a certain amount of mesh or padding so that it fills out the bun a little bit more, and then you cover it up. Or you can do extensions, but those are all things that you have to discuss ahead of time, and kind of try out and see what's going to work and what's not going to work.
Now, I'm going to skip down. We were going to talk about this at the end, but I'm actually just curious here. Does season affect how their hair is? Like, so my big question is, when do they do that trial? How far out are they booking? And I'm jumping a little bit ahead here, but I'm just thinking to myself, you know, if their hair is in the summertime and they come to you for a trial, is it going to be different than what you may be dealing with in the winter?
It could definitely be, depending on what the humidity is like that day.
Right. Yeah.
What their dress looks like.
This is my very low level knowledge of hair, but it immediately comes to mind, you know?
Those are all factors that come into play. I mean, if it's the summer and you're getting married somewhere really humid and you have curly hair, that is definitely a factor that we as the hairstylists want to you know, factor in and make sure that we're going to do everything so that, you know, 2 hours into your wedding, you hit the hot, humid air and all of a sudden your hair starts to frizz up. Like, we definitely want to avoid that.
Right.
So yes, season definitely affects what style you're going for. If you're someone who tends to run hot in general, or you're wearing a dress that is long sleeve and has tons of tulle and lace under there, it's hot. And if you're a sweater, sorry ladies, it happens, you're probably going to want your hair up. Those are things to talk about with your stylist.
Right. Okay. Wow. Yeah. So there's quite a bit. And then the additional factors, matching things like the dress, right? Or your face, I assume.
Yes.
Matters.
Definitely. So sometimes we have things that we're insecure about. So I've had brides who've been insecure about a forehead. So they want to make sure that they have pieces left down, or that they get some kind of coverage in the front if they don't have bangs, because they want that forehead covered. Other brides, they want their ears covered. They just don't like them. Or they only want half of it to show.
And I hear you. I got big ears too, so it happens.
Based off of what earrings they're wearing, maybe they want to be able to show those off. Those are all things that come into, you know, just your discussion with your stylist and your trial of deciding what you do and don't want to do with your hair.
Right. Yeah. And so is there a face type that, like, is there a system to this, or is it just more of like you mess around with it? You see it, like, I think
it's more, I mean, if you were to go like textbook hair school, they would say that, you know, heart-shaped faced is like the perfect face shape because you can do whatever with it. But I don't think that that's necessarily something that you should follow. I think you should decide what you're used to seeing on yourself and you like seeing on yourself. If you don't like your hair all pulled back, probably shouldn't do that on your wedding day.
Well, it's funny because Kate Tobias, and she was a men's stylist, and she actually, her episode came out a few weeks ago, but she was telling me, I don't button up my shirt. I can't do a tie ever. It's just not me. Right. And she told me, she's like, you don't have to wear a tie. Like, if you see yourself without a button all the time, like, you shouldn't wear one. That's you want to feel and look like yourself to a degree, right? It can be an upgraded version of yourself, but you want it to be yourself. And that's who the person fell in love with. And I went, you know, that's a beautiful way to look at it. And I feel like that's something that, you know,
I think it's very similar when it comes to hair as well. You want to look like just a better version of yourself. You're not trying to look like someone totally different. Just like your guest said there, you know, the person that they fell in love with looks like X on a regular day.
And it's the same thing with makeup. You know, we had that same conversation. It's like, you know, if I don't see you in makeup constantly and now you wear, you know, this thick of makeup, it's going to, you know, be shocked.
Yes. Definitely.
And you still may look beautiful. I'm not going to, you know.
Oh, yeah.
But still, I don't know.
No, you want to look like yourself, but.
And again, you know, when we were between breaks here, we were talking about how simple men are. Don't confuse us. We see someone else walking down the aisle and you're like, why aren't you crying? It's like, because I don't know who you are. It's very simple. I mean, Tyler gets it. It's fine. Tyler's off camera. Like, I don't know what the hell to do. Although he is listening for all of his hair tips because, I mean, look at that.
He's got some great flow there.
He does. He does.
I do.
Yes, you do. You look nice, bud. Very nice.
Yeah. I think the guys say that's a head of lettuce or something. I think
I call it the flow.
Oh my God.
Nice.
All right. So one more thing, just going back on the seasons, with different types of weddings, being on the beach, maybe outdoors, more indoors, is this a factor? How much should brides consider this when trying to find that style?
I think when it comes to outdoor weddings and your hair, you want to consider how your hair is styled in regards to the season. So let's say you're getting married on the beach, right? Typically, it's nice when you're getting married on the beach, especially in the summertime.
Hopefully.
Yeah, you hope so. However, the wind can be really a huge factor when it comes to the beach.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that you're picking a style that everybody wants, that down like beachy wave when you're on the beach, right? It makes sense. It goes with the theme. However, that's not always going to last you throughout the entire day. So it's a conversation to have with your stylist, and maybe it's just something that you realize it's not going to look great the entire night, but it's going to look great for the pictures prior to and the ceremony. And then as the day goes on, it'll just look more and more household, if you will.
So my best advice as a photographer, do your photos before the ceremony, not after.
Exactly.
That's simple.
Exactly.
And it's that simple that we're going to actually take a quick break right now. We're going to go back in just a few minutes, but I do want to let you know before we go on break that you should check out the New England Wedding Expo, because we're going to be there. Be Remember will be there. We'll be there to help you out. But if you are a bride, free tickets right now, $150 free, and then they're going to go up in price. So go ahead and grab them. It is April 16th. You can go check it out at newenglandweddingexpo.com. We'll see you back here in just a few minutes. We're going to talk more with Rachel Fratantonio, who's given us some great advice on hairstyling, which I'm lacking thereof. So we'll see you in just a few seconds, guys. Take care.
Every step, writing stories that seek to be read, taking hold of the moment as we discover every color filled with wonder. Now we finally see we got everything we need. Here we go. All we need is an open road and a chance to see a never-ending world that's beautiful. Here we go with the sunlight on our skin. It's a brand new day. It's ours to take and we will let it in. This is where the adventure begins.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Wonderful World of Weddings. We're so happy to have you here. For all of our brides tuning in, we have a wonderful guest I'm going to get to in just a second. But before we do, we're going to talk about how you're going to get all of your wedding services right at BeRememberedWeddings.com. You can bundle everything. You can go ahead and do photography, videography, event planning, DJ, coordination, you name it. It's all at BeRememberedWeddings.com. And right now we're offering financing over $2,000. So you can set everything up, spread it out over a few months, and make your life much easier, especially in these tough economic times. But in the meantime, we have to learn about who to book and why to book them. And that's why Rachel Fratantonio is here. And she's doing a wonderful job. She's letting us know everything we need to know about hair, which I am lacking in. And right now, we're going to go more into the on-site styling portion, because this is much different. And I think this is something that can be a little bit intimidating, at least from my point of view, because we go to our hair salon, we feel comfortable in our hair salon. Well, I don't, but most people do. They go to the hair salon, they talk about their feelings, they have a great conversation with you. And now you might be someone different, even though we did our bridal trial, which we encouraged everyone to do.
Yes.
You might be someone different. And now we're going to be at a different location that's out of your comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
Was this a big adaptation for you? Was that something that had to be learned, how to not only bring everything you need, but set up?
Yeah, I guess it was a learned thing. I think the first time that I did on-site styling, it was, an eye-opener of, okay, yeah, you have to make sure you bring everything with you, because there's no going back. It's not like you're at the salon and everything's there. Like you have to make sure you bring everything, even for that worst case scenario. But it's more prep for sure. You have to make sure you have all your irons, all your products. Now in my kit, I make sure that I include not only my blow dryer, but also my shears, because every now and then you get that person bridesmaid, whatever, who's like, yeah, you know what, my bangs need to be cut. Can you just cut them? Or
that's a risky move on a wedding day.
Or they're like, oh, you know what, I want face framing pieces because they want them left down, but their hair is really long. So they're like, yeah, just cut it. Like,
oh my God. Are you terrified doing that?
No, it just happens, but it is very funny how often people just assume that, oh, you're a hairstylist. You must have shears on you all the time.
Right. They're like, yeah, they're in my back pocket.
Yeah. Yep. Yes, all the time. Like, oh, they must be attached to your body physically. Yes.
Right. Jesus. Okay. So you're bringing the whole kit and caboodle.
Oh yeah. I bring everything. All that the bride needs to provide is an outlet. And even in that thread, I bring an extension cord.
Yep.
I bring also, because I had this happen with a wedding, the outlet adapters.
Oh.
Because sometimes if you're at someone's house and it's an older home, they don't have the 3-prong outlets.
Yep.
So I now have those in my kit too, just in case.
Yep. So is this a giant bit of equipment? Like
it's, I would say it's a giant bit. I like my kit. It
rolls.
Wagon? Yeah, it rolls. I bring the lights in case we need extra lighting. I also bring a chair. So depending on the venue, sometimes I use the chair, sometimes I don't. Some venues will actually set up a little chair and it's a good height for me,
right,
and that works. But other times it's lower. Yes. For those of you who are
sorry,
those of you who are listening, I'm only 4'11", so I do need an appropriately sized chair.
We know each other, so sorry. Anyways, so that's good. So how long does that take you to set up? Is that something brides should factor in? It's
something I normally factor in.
Okay.
It's not necessarily the bride's job to do that. I usually tell them if our start time is like 10:30, then I normally get there early at like 10, and I allow myself like 15 minutes of setup time.
That's all.
Yeah. So
speedy. Okay.
Well, I mean, you get into it. You know, you know what you need to do after a while. You know, the chair is fairly easy to unfold. And then it's basically just plugging in irons. You find the right spot. And
right.
I usually give myself the 30 minutes of like, okay, finding the room. And then, you know, anything else that might go wrong along the way.
Which God knows something will happen.
Something might.
Yes, 100%. That's too funny. Oh my God, I know. And especially when you walk into a space and it's just so tight. That's one of the things that kills me.
Hotel rooms can be really tough to navigate sometimes just based off of if they're really narrow. If someone else is coming in to do makeup, I want to make sure that they get the best lighting. So I'm like, you know, just put me in the corner. I need an outlet. That's all I need.
Right. And all right, so that's actually a question. This may be extremely ignorant, but I am curious. Hair is first, right? You do hair before makeup?
I would say typically hair would go before makeup just because you don't necessarily want to have your makeup done and then have a hot iron next to your face where you might then sweat and then cause some of the makeup to...
Yeah, that makes plenty of sense. Okay, fair enough. And so you're saying about 15 to 30 minutes. That's pretty quick. I actually thought it would be much longer.
No, setup really, at least for me, I don't know what other stylists are bringing, but I would imagine it's similar stuff.
Yeah. And I think it's funny though, because you're right. You must have to I don't know, just backup seems to be the biggest problem for me. Like, and same with makeup. Like our makeup kits have every skin tone and type and moisture and all of that. I guess you don't have to deal with that side of things, but
no, but I do have to make sure that I have like every tool in my arsenal at the ready.
Yeah.
You know, I have every size iron you could possibly imagine, like a blow dry just in case someone's hair is wet.
Yeah.
The shears in case I need to cut someone's hair. You just never know.
And then the prep too. So are you giving them advice on how to prep their hair prior to the day of? Like, are you sending them, hey, this out?
Yes. So I normally send to the bride. The bride themselves should know what their hair needs to be like. We usually would discuss that at the trial, but I do like to send something out for them to share with the rest of their bridal party for prep for them, because it's important for not only the bride, but everyone else who's getting their hair done to be ready so that everything runs smoothly and it's not cutting into the time that we've allotted for everyone.
All right. So that's actually a great question. How much time should they allot for the bride versus the bridesmaids?
So I usually give myself an hour with the bride
Okay.
because, I want to be finicky. I want to be that little perfectionist. And sometimes I might give myself more time depending on just how thick that person's hair is and how technical we're making the style look. But for bridesmaids, it can be anywhere from 30 to 45, 60 minutes. It really depends on what their hair is like and what they're going for.
Sure. Do you find most bridesmaids, because they're not doing a trial with you, correct?
No, bridesmaids normally don't. Nope.
And so it's a little bit, is it easier? Is it more natural type of look that you're going for with them? Or, do you get some crazy requests?
From the bridesmaids? Not really. No. Usually the bridesmaids are pretty cool. They want to do whatever the bride wants.
I was going to say, is it a lot of matching? Do you tend to match one from the other?
It depends on the bride. Sometimes the bride wants all the bridesmaids to look the same.
Yep.
Other times it's very much whatever they want to do.
Is that a trend that occurs, or is that just per bride? Is it just like, some brides like, I want this?
I think it's per bride. Some brides definitely have an aesthetic that they're going for. Like they want in their pictures everyone to look the same.
Yep.
I think it's nice when the bride is a little bit more distinguished. So I think it's nice to have the bride look a little extra.
Yeah.
They are the bride after all.
I will tell you, I had this bride and she was absolutely stunning, but her sister, so she had 3 sisters actually, and they all looked the same.
Oh, that's tough.
It was, and they all wore the same hair. They wore it was weird.
Yeah.
It was weird for photos because I was like, okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, that's what you want.
I know there is a trend going around about bridesmaids also wearing white, which I was like, I don't think that I like that. I don't think I like that.
No, I'm not a fan of that either. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Well, people like to throw tradition out the window. Yeah.
Which, if you want to go for it, it's your wedding, it's your day, it's your money that you're spending.
Yep.
Choose it however you'd like to.
I'm back and forth on that, but fair enough. I understand that perspective. I went on another show one day and had it out with someone about traditional values and the idea of, in the big thing changed. So we're not going to get into this because more focus on her, but quick, the big thing changed. It used to be that families were paying for it. And so when you have a family paying for it and 2 families are coming together, I understand that the thought there is that, no, you're going to do what's best for everyone versus yourself.
Yes.
And stick with those traditions.
Correct.
Nowadays, couples are paying for more things than families are.
Yes.
And I can argue that that's not ideal, but anyway, so I understand what you're saying. That being said, before I say something I shouldn't, we're going to take a quick break here and we're going to jump to a commercial. Please, everyone, go check out the New England Wedding Expo if you haven't already. We appreciate it constantly because we love this expo. It's hosted right in Marlborough, Massachusetts on April 16th. You can join us this year. You can see Be Remembered there. And if you're a vendor out there, just know there's only 2 spots left for B. There's 2 other blocks that you can book, but they are running out just as quickly. So we hope to see you there. Go to New England Wedding Expo right now and get your tickets or sign up for your booth today. We are going to be back with Rachel Fratantonio in just a second, and we love having you on. So we'll see you in just a few, guys. Thanks. Hey everyone, and welcome to the wonderful world of weddings. I am so happy to have you back. My name is Daniel, and I have a wonderful guest, Rachel Fratantonio here, and we're on our 4th little segment here talking about everything to do with hair. Now, before we get into that, you can book everything except for hair at BeRememberedWeddings.com, so go there right now, book it all. It's true, and you know what? Maybe we can change that in the next few days. It's all up to Rachel here, but no, we'll go ahead and talk a little bit more. Wrapping up in this segment, we always like to just talk about experiences because I think the nerve-wracking part about weddings from the lack of knowledge that we all have from it. You go into the space, you're in there for 24 months typically on average, and then you're out and maybe you pass on some information to the next person, but it's difficult because everyone is so unique.
Yes.
And so we always like to talk about your favorite stories and try to wrap it up by understanding giving some people some ideas of what they should do, where they should be, how they should, what they should look for, etc. And so are there any stories that stuck out in your mind of brides and situations that, maybe even warnings? That's the biggest thing. I always give warnings. I'm like, hey, don't do this, because those stick in my mind.
Yes. Yes. Well, I'd say some of the warnings would be pretty typical.
Yeah.
Don't drink a lot. Especially, have fun, but you pace yourself.
Yes.
You know your body. Definitely just, watch out for that.
That affects the hair too, which is kind of funny.
I mean, it's just.
Well, it does. And I say this. All right. So correct me if I'm wrong here. Do you ever notice, now I do this, if I ever have a drink, my face gets red. And I get hot.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden you start seeing the hair frizz a little bit, and you're just like the wild woman on the dance floor. You're like, oh, okay.
Yep. So that would be a big one. Definitely, pace yourself as far as you're drinking. We all want you to have a good time, have your mimosas, ladies, but just pace yourself. That's all. That would be a big warning. Also delegate. Tell, if you are one of those brides that you are DIYing everything and you are doing setup, and I know it can be tough with venues. Sometimes they only let you in for a certain period of time beforehand, but delegate. Tell people exactly how you want it done so that you can sit in the chair when it's time for me or whoever is doing your hair so that they have that time, because there is nothing more stressful for everyone else involved when the bride is stressed out.
Yes, 100%. And you see it from the beginning of the day too, which is absolutely terrible, right?
Yes.
I mean, you're in the chair, you're trying to just calm them down, get them ready for the day, and they're just like, oh, I got to do this. It's like,
yep.
You got to enjoy it too.
Yes.
That's a big part of it. And that's why, shameless plug, but please hire a coordinator, for the love of God. It will make your life so much easier. If you have a small bit of your budget left, I would highly recommend it.
It will definitely take some huge stress off you if you have someone who is there, who knows exactly what you want to do those things. It just takes that off your plate so that you can be more relaxed and enjoy the day, because you should enjoy your day.
Yeah. And everything, all the work that you put
into it.
Yep.
Yes.
All right. Actually, though, I was just thinking about this. Do you ever do men's hairstyling the day of?
I haven't as of yet done a men's hair for styling. I wouldn't be opposed to it. I think it'd be fun.
Right.
But I have not yet.
Yeah.
I would say the most, I don't want to say out there because it's not out there, but the more different thing that I've done is wig styling.
Oh.
Yeah. So I've had a couple of bridesmaids who wear wigs, and I've styled the wig, which is actually kind of cool.
Oh, okay.
As a girl or with someone with longer hair, when you want to do something with your hair and you can't just see the back of your head, to have the ability to just take your hair off and put it on something else and be able to do that. It's kind of a really cool concept.
I never thought of it that way, but
it's
yes,
nice, yeah.
That gives you a little bit more leverage. It's like, oh, is this what you like? Yes, it is. All right, boom, there you go.
Perfect. Yes. Yep.
Have
Absolutely.
5 wigs lined up. You're like, here's everything. Here's all your options. You're like, okay, perfect. I'll take that one.
Yes. So definitely delegate. Definitely watch how much you're drinking, and definitely talk with your stylist. Make sure you guys have a firm plan in place and that the timeline. One of the bigger things that I run into is when the photographer gets there. You
don't like us too much.
Oh, and it's not that I don't like you guys. It's that I want to make sure that I'm done.
Yeah.
My goal is to make sure that you guys are all done.
But we need a little hairspray shot.
I'm happy to pose that. Happy to
That's
pose
the way
it
to
for
do
you.
it.
Yes.
But
I don't want you breathing down my neck.
Let's go.
We've got a timeline to go on. Definitely trust your photographer. When they say everybody needs to be done at 1, be done at 1.
You people take the longest, okay? You people are always late.
Yeah. Well, we try not to be. At least I try not to be.
Yeah.
I definitely try not to be.
It's just terrible. I had this poor bastard. He was standing in the hot summer sun. All of the guests, they ran out of water. And this hairstylist and makeup artist, don't worry, not ours, was there for 2 extra hours with this bride. And this guy was sweating bullets thinking his bride wasn't showing up. And I had a coordinator down my neck being like, what is going on? I'm like, look, I'm just a photographer. My video guys are in there right now. we can't do anything. What do you want us to do?
Yeah.
You want us to yell at the hairdresser? That's not my problem.
Yeah.
It's not my job. Like, I will, don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
we got to go. Yeah.
And some of it, I will say, is out of our control sometimes too. When you provide everything that you need from your bride and your bridal party, and then you have bridal party members that show up late,
Yes.
5 minutes is a lot of time that we could be prepping your hair. Like it doesn't seem like a lot, but every minute matters when it
So
comes
show
time.
up on time.
Yeah, so be on time, be early if you can. Early. Sometimes we finish early, which is why it's really hard to map out a schedule for the day. Because sometimes we will finish early. So
Yeah. How much time do you think that they should give you? You know, what I always say to brides and grooms is when they're booking us for photography or video, I say give us about a half an hour into the dance floor, but book us for a full hour because formalities run late.
yes.
Do you do anything of this nature? Do you say, hey, it's an hour and, 30 minutes for each bridesmaid, give me an extra, hour?
Yeah,
Something like that,
I
yeah.
usually will say about 45 minutes for a bridesmaid,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm like, have the next person ready like 15 minutes early. Cause sometimes it goes quick
Right.
and I want that 15 minutes to get going on to the next one.
Right. Okay. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's a big piece of it here. But before we go, I'm actually just going to let everyone know, if you have any questions for Rachel, for hairstylist, for anyone that comes on the show, go to berememberedweddings.com/podcast. There's actually a little button you can hit submit, and you can go ahead and tell us either your story, which we're happy to share, or your questions. Because when we bring people on like Rachel, we really want to get down to the nitty gritty here. And I hope I did a decent job here of, kind of pulling back all of the information on hair. I'm so terrible at these terms.
You did great. You did
I don't know what the hell the terms are. But I can always do better. So just go ahead and let me know. Rachel, that being said, where do people find you specifically?
So you can find me on Instagram at Swept Up Styles. I'm also on Facebook under the same name, and you can also go to sweptupstyles.com.
I saw that.
Yes, and you can look through my gallery.
Very nice.
Send me a message there.
Yep. So you can get your inspiration from her site, which must make your life a little bit easier.
It does. Having the gallery there is a nice option.
Now, if you haven't done this yet, I'm just curious, do you label them by style? So do people tend to know the terms of styles? That's another question, actually.
Sometimes they do. I think giving too much information and being too specific on stuff sometimes ends up being confusing. So typically, if I'm in my gallery, I'll write the bride's name and that's about it.
Oh, okay.
And that way, I think pictures, I'm a visual person, so I think visual is always best. Show up to your appointment with inspiration pictures.
Yep.
I like this, this, and this. Perfect.
And give them a few options too, right? Just don't be like, this is what I want.
Yes, no, definitely, if you're a Pinterest girl, go on that Pinterest and, show me your inspiration board.
Gotta love Pinterest.
Yes.
You a big Pinterest fan? I ask this to everyone.
I think it's okay when it comes to wedding hair. When it comes to
do we not get the
colors?
same response from every single person I ask this question?
When it comes to cuts and colors, I'm like, it's not always
Every
better.
single artist or person in this industry is just like, yeah, Pinterest can be great, but I also hate them.
Yeah. It's just, you're just getting a snapshot. You don't
Exactly.
really know everything that goes into it.
Yeah, it's just so funny because we just did a little snippet of the Floral podcast, and she's like, yeah, I have a love-hate with them. I'm like, yep, so do I. I'm like, yeah. They're like, well, when people see $100,000 wedding and they're like, I want that for $5,000. Like, can you do that? And they're like, that takes a lot of flowers.
Yes.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I never understood the cost of flowers. Actually, we just put something out for Valentine's Day yesterday.
Oh, my gosh. Flowers are, yeah.
Well, in the Rose Bowl, yeah, drives up the price of flowers. Total BS. That's not okay. Anyways, well, thank you so much for joining us here. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
And we will be back in just a week, guys. So every single Friday, you can join us at 10 a.m. on WCRN, or you can actually find us anywhere you get your typical podcasts. So go and find us and go to berememberedweddings.com to find your wedding service today, or book them all with us, and just know that you can go ahead and finance any package over $2,000. And we'll see you in just a few. Thank you guys for joining us, and have a great day.